Everybody, welcome back with the Plapper. Platypus is the name. Today, I want to do a little, this is more topical, and I'm sure they're going to address it, right? I'm not like criticizing the game and their balanced team. They're doing a great job, but I do want to make the case, and I want to just, I'm sure people could tell, but if you don't know, right now, bees are busted in the current patch. They are absolutely cracked. Now, I can't, this is not a real game board. This is a video that I have already recorded, but I basically wanted to make the case that you should nerf them. I think that the bee is it went from being one of the best items in the game, but could very easily lose against a build that didn't have weapons. The bee used to activate every time your opponent used a weapon, which I really like the flavor of, because they're like coming to attack you, and the bees get mad and they attack you. But it would also activate all your bees. So if you had a board of 8 bees, they would all instantly activate every time your opponent used any weapon. But if you went up against like a poison Vanessa and they just don't have a weapon, like they would literally kill you, because the bees have an 8-second passive cooldown, and you would be able to attack twice, and then you would have 1,000 poison on you and die. So it was very like binary in the sense that you would either destroy the opponent or absolutely get destroyed, but you didn't win every time. They changed it. So now you only activate one bee. You need to have the beehive out. That didn't change. But you only activate one bee ever. You don't activate more than one bee. So you're like, okay, well, that's a nerf. But now the bee activates on every item use. Every single item that gets used on the opponent's side, the bee activates. And does that... When I first read the patch notes, I'm like, that sounds like a buff, but maybe it's a nerf because there's only one bee. I think this is the best item in the game, like hands down. This item is actually absurd. So just to end the same patch notes, they were like, caltrops are too good. So we are going to nerf caltrops to appear at only diamond tier. It's a diamond item. Caltrops is whenever an opponent activates an item, they take damage, and it starts pretty low at like 5 or something. So in this, it's a medium item. So in the same patch that they nerfed the caltrops up to diamond, they also buffed the bees to be a better caltrops, and it shows up at silver. So I don't know exactly what the thought process was on that specific change, but before you're saying like it's not necessarily better, it is just like, I would say it's objectively better, although not literally. So caltrops is a medium item. Bee is essentially, you think of it as a large item, because the bee by itself is just an 8-second weapon that doesn't really do that much. You need the beehive as well, and the beehive is a medium and the bee is small, so effectively it's a large caltrops. It takes 3 slots, right, instead of 2 slots. So maybe it's like, okay, that's why they could lower the rarity of it, and you could have it at silver. And it's not objectively better, it's just different. It's actually objectively better. One, the bees scale their own damage. Every time you buy a property, the beehive gives you another bee, which doesn't matter, but it scales the damage of the bee. So over the course of a game, if you're trying to, and you get like a gold or a diamond beehive, it's going to just scale the damage of the bee very high, pretty darn quickly, which is great, right? So it's a self-improving caltrops. Also, Pygmalion has yo-yo. And so here's the big difference. The big difference. Caltrops is whenever an opponent uses an item, deal X damage, where X is this item's attack. B is whenever your opponent uses an item, use B. So the B gets used instead of it just dealing damage. Means this counts as using an item, which triggers all the synergies. And so, for example, in this build, whenever any opponent uses an item, it uses the B. When I use the B, it also uses the yo-yo. So whenever they use an item, they get hit with 2 caltrops, essentially, of damage, right? Because this is the first caltrops, and this is the second caltrops, because this always activates when this activates. And this always activates when they use an item. So effectively, these are 2 caltrops that have, in this case, this one has scaling damage, but it's better than caltrops because it gets used. So this uses this, and when both of these get used, they use this. Because this activates on when you use an item, you get shield. So this is giving me 3 instances, or 2 instances of shield every time they use any item. Okay, that's crazy. And not to mention, these are caltrops with cooldowns. So that means every 8 seconds, they're just going to attack on their own anyway. So I think the bee is objectively better than what was one of the better items in the games, and is probably the single best item in the game now. Absolutely broken. Now, the reason it doesn't seem broken at first, maybe when you first get it, because its damage is pretty low, even though it activates a lot. But you got to remember, every 1 point of damage you put on this is actually going to be multiplied by probably minimum of 4. Almost no build's going to have less than 4 items, because you could have 3 large items and a small item or something. So 4 is probably the minimum. So 1 damage is actually closer to 4 damage. But if they have like 8 items, it's like every point of damage is actually multiplied by 8, because they're going to be using most of those items, right? It depends on how many actives they have. But beyond that, there's so many skills and items that trigger with this, right? So every time I use an item, I'm getting a bunch of shield. And every time so your damage is not necessarily going up in this configuration, but you're getting so much shield. So I actually did have a spike shield to kind of turn that into damage. But there's so many of these skills right here. Like, they're very easy to find too, because they start at gold. Every time you use a weapon, all your shield items get additional shield. That's busted. All right. So now every time we're using this, not only are we getting multiple procs of this, but it's also starting to scale very quickly. And this one, which is also, again, easy to get, I think it shows up at gold starting, is every time you shield, your weapons get damage. So now I'm going to show you. This is not a high roll build. You could say that the shield on the yo-yo was a high roll. It's not really that much of a high roll, but this is a video that's going to be going live on my channel tomorrow for the full thing. But like, let's just take a quick look at, like, this is the final fight. Think about that. Spoiler alert, we win. Okay. I tend to upload videos where we get 10 wins. Let's just mute this because I'm here. Also, sorry for the YouTube, the Windows Media Player. It doesn't like me to do the stuff as much. Okay, so let's come up here. Sorry, I thought I was at the last fight because of there. All right, let's go right there. Also, I think Frozen Flame is great. So let's try to break it down if we can. It's a pretty fast fight. Okay. Well, let's take a look at their build and what their build does and what our build does. Right, so they're an all-in damage build. And honestly, our build doesn't, if they don't do much, we don't do much. But the second they use something, they're going to do a bunch of damage to us because they have like this like crit synergy and stuff. But then this is going to activate, which is going to activate this, which they both activate this, which all 3 of them activate this and this. And it just goes like crazy. So like initially, like, we haven't done anything yet, right? And now they attack us. And then immediately the scaling just goes absolutely bonkers. Like, we just got to, this is at 510. Where was it a second ago, right? And then we didn't even get a chance to scale this any higher, but they just like die over the course of 2 seconds because of how powerful these synergies are. And I'm saying a lot of these synergies already existed, right? Obviously this, with every time you shield, you get an effect. Every time you use an item, you get an effect. These are all strong, but I'm telling you, B pushed it to the next level. You used to have to wait for the cooldown of the bird, and they actually made the bird, they power crept the bird, maybe by mistake, I don't know. Let's take a look here. So look, keep in mind, our base power of our B and our yo-yo is, the yo-yo is at 15 power, right? Let's take a look what happens to this guy here. How much do we get to by the end of the fight? So we go from 15 power to 500 over the course of, what was that? How many seconds was that? I think it was like literally 15 right here. All right. We're at 35 minutes and 20 seconds in this video. So right here, we're still at, we just hit 30. So basically at 35:13 is when we were still at 15. And then 35:13 to 35, basically 18, right at 18 to 19. So it's like 5 seconds, and we went, we more than 10x'd, we 50x'd our damage. That's crazy. And honestly, I even got it up higher. I think I got it up to 1,000, but the thing is, things die too fast. It would scale so fast and it would keep scaling. So yeah, I just wanted to say this video is going to go live. You'll be able to see the whole run in all of its glory. But yeah, honestly, bees are just a little bit too strong. Overall, I want to just reiterate that I think it was a great balance patch, and I think the game is fucking fantastic. It's one of my favorite games that I've ever played, but especially potential GOTY material as well. But And the balance patch overall was fantastic. I think the B was a bit. I think that one was. I feel like that might have been a last minute change. You're like, oh, we should do something about B. Okay, well, I'll make it so it only affects one B, but it does all items. Like, all right, cool. Yeah, give and take, give and take. It makes sense on paper, absolutely. And then you actually think about it a little bit more, and you start using it. You're like, holy shit! It's an unbeatable item. It's an improved caltrops, which is all. It's an easy to find, scalable double caltrops because you can get it with yo-yo very easily, and it's sick. It's better than caltrops in multiple ways because it also gets used. All right, guys, that's all for this one. Thank you very much. Per platypus is per platypus. Also, if you're playing, you should play bees because it's not going to survive. This shit's going to get nerfed. I don't know how hard, but it's going to get nerfed because it is not going to be like this a week from now. I guarantee it. But for right now, enjoy the Pygmalion builds. The bee builds. The bees! Anyway, much love. See you next time. Bye!